The Haunting of Hollow Manor. It was a dark and stormy night, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. The wind howled through the trees, and rain pelted against the windows of Hollow Manor. The mansion had stood for centuries, its grandeur fading with time, but its secrets lurking within the walls. Alexis had inherited Hollow Manor from her distant relative, a woman she had never met. She arrived with her heart heavy with curiosity and apprehension, unsure of what awaited her in the eerie silence of the old mansion. As Alexis stepped through the creaking doors, a chill ran down her spine. The air was heavy with a musty scent, and the dim light barely illuminated the vast hallway ahead. She felt a presence, an unsettling feeling that eyes were watching her every move. Ignoring her unease, Alexis explored the mansion. The grandeur of the past was evident in the ornate decor, but the passage of time had taken its toll. Paint peeled off the walls, and cobwebs adorned forgotten corners. Night fell, and the mansion seemed to come alive with sinister energy. Alexis heard whispers in the wind that seemed to echo through the hallways. The portraits on the walls appeared to shift their gazes, following her as she moved. She tried to convince herself that it was just her imagination, but the feeling of being watched intensified. The following days brought no relief. Doors slammed shut on their own, and shadows danced in the corners of her vision. Alexis's dreams were plagued by vivid nightmares of a woman in a white dress, her face obscured by darkness. She woke up each morning drenched in sweat, the feeling of dread lingering long after the nightmares had faded. One evening, as Alexis wandered through the decaying library, she stumbled upon a dusty old journal. Its pages were filled with the ramblings of a former resident, detailing bizarre occurrences and the growing sense of unease that had consumed them. The final entry spoke of a ritual, a desperate attempt to ward off the malevolent spirits that had taken hold of the mansion. As Alexis delved deeper into the journal, she learned about a hidden chamber beneath the mansion, a place where the ritual had been performed. Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, she resolved to find the chamber and uncover the truth. Guided by the cryptic writings, Alexis discovered a concealed passage leading deep underground. The air grew colder, and the walls seemed to close in around her as she ventured further. At last, she reached a chamber bathed in an eerie blue light. In the center of the room lay a stone altar, surrounded by faded symbols. Alexis's heart raced as she realized the truth. The ritual had been a summoning, an attempt to harness dark forces for power. But something had gone terribly wrong, and the spirits had been unleashed, trapped between realms. A whisper echoed through the chamber, and Alexis turned to see the woman from her nightmares standing before her. The woman's eyes were empty voids, and her voice was a chilling melody that reverberated through Alexis's very soul. "You have uncovered our prison," the woman intoned. "You are bound to us now, forever." Panicked, Alexis tried to flee, but the chamber seemed to shift and change, trapping her within its walls. The spirits of the past swirled around her, their tormented faces contorted in anguish. Days turned into nights, and Alexis was trapped in a nightmarish existence, haunted by the malevolent spirits that sought her soul. The line between reality and hallucination blurred, and she could no longer distinguish between the horrors of the mansion and the terrors of her own mind. Time lost all meaning as Alexis's sanity unraveled. She became a mere puppet in the hands of the spirits, her will bending to their malevolent desires. She wandered the mansion, a hollow shell consumed by darkness. And so, Hollow Manor claimed another victim, its secrets buried within its decaying walls, its malevolent energy forever feeding on the souls unfortunate enough to cross its threshold. The whispers of the past echoed through time, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked within. The Haunting of Ravenswood Manor. The old carriage rattled down the narrow road, the horses' hooves clattering on the cobblestones. Inside, Sarah clutched her worn leather suitcase, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. She had received an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative, Ravenswood Manor. As the carriage rolled to a stop before the imposing iron gates, Sarah's gaze fixed upon the mansion. Ravenswood Manor loomed against the gray sky, its dark silhouette exuding an air of mystery. Ivy-clad walls stretched upward, and time had weathered the stone into a somber beauty. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, the place seemed to hold secrets whispered through the ages. The massive doors creaked open, revealing the mansion's caretaker, Mr. Everly. His sharp eyes held a mixture of curiosity and sympathy as he welcomed Sarah. "Miss Sarah, welcome to Ravenswood Manor. I trust your journey was pleasant?" Sarah managed a nervous smile, her fingers fumbling with the edge of her shawl. "Yes, thank you, Mr. Everly. It's quite a journey to this remote place." He nodded, his gaze lingering on the mansion. Indeed, Ravenswood Manor has stood for generations. It has a history both rich and complicated. Complicated? The word struck a dissonant chord, but before Sarah could inquire further, Mr. Everly led her into the foyer, her footsteps echoing through the grand entrance hall. The days that followed were filled with exploration and adjustment. Ravenswood Manor was vast, with rooms that seemed to stretch endlessly. Sarah's footsteps echoed as she wandered, discovering dusty old portraits and forgotten libraries. The mansion seemed to harbor whispers from the past, faint echoes that danced at the edge of her perception. One evening, while Sarah wandered the halls, she heard soft music drifting through the air. She followed the sound to a long-forgotten ballroom, where the ghostly notes of a piano seemed to play themselves. Sarah's heart raced. She was alone, yet the music filled the room with haunting beauty. As days turned to weeks, Sarah became aware of an odd sensation. It was as if someone was watching her, their gaze like a cool breeze brushing against her skin. She dismissed it as mere nerves, but the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each passing day. In the depths of the mansion, Sarah stumbled upon a room that bore the marks of abandonment. Dust-covered furniture and moth-eaten curtains painted a picture of neglect. Among the debris, she found an old journal, its pages yellowed with age. The entries spoke of a tragic love story, a forbidden affair that had torn a family apart. The pain and longing were palpable, and Sarah felt a deep empathy for the author. Yet, as she read, a chill seeped into her bones. The stories in the journal mirrored the strange occurrences she'd experienced, the distant whispers, the haunting music. Was there a connection between the past and the present? Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah delved deeper into Ravenswood's history. She learned of a woman named Isabella, who had been the center of the tragic love affair. Isabella had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and her spirit was said to haunt the mansion, forever searching for resolution. As Sarah pieced together the puzzle, the supernatural activity intensified. Whispers became clearer, and shadows seemed to dance at the corner of her vision. One night, she awoke to find the figure of a woman at the foot of her bed. Isabella's translucent form gazed at her with mournful eyes, her presence both haunting and sorrowful. "Help me," the ghostly figure whispered, her voice a fragile echo. Sarah's heart ached, her empathy for Isabella's plight overwhelming. She delved deeper into the journal and discovered a ritual meant to communicate with spirits. With trembling hands, she gathered the necessary items and followed the instructions, her heart pounding in anticipation. As the ritual commenced, the air grew thick with energy. Shadows twisted and contorted, and a gust of wind extinguished the candles. The room plunged into darkness, and Sarah's breath caught as Isabella's ethereal figure materialized before her. "You have called me," Isabella's voice resonated, a blend of hope and desperation. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "Isabella, why are you trapped? What happened?" Isabella's form wavered, and she recounted her tragic tale, a forbidden love, a family torn apart, and a cruel fate that had separated her from her beloved forever. Determined to free Isabella's spirit, Sarah unraveled the threads of the past. With Isabella's guidance, she uncovered the hidden truth, a web of lies and deceit that had fueled the tragedy. Together, they confronted the darkness that had bound Isabella to the mansion, and as the truth was exposed, the air seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light. The mansion trembled, as if releasing a heavy burden it had carried for centuries. Isabella's form grew brighter, her features serene as she gazed at Sarah with gratitude. "Thank you," Isabella whispered, her voice fading as she dissolved into the light. The mansion fell silent, the echoes of the past finally at peace. Sarah watched as the sun's first rays illuminated Ravenswood Manor, its grandeur no longer overshadowed by its haunted history. Years later, Ravenswood Manor stood as a symbol of renewal. Its once foreboding halls now echoed with laughter and life. Sarah had married, and she and her family had transformed the mansion into a place of warmth and welcome. As the wind rustled through the ivy and the sun set over the horizon, the ghosts of Ravenswood were finally at rest. The haunting of the past had given way to a future filled with hope and the promise of a new beginning.